Welcome to the IT Matters podcast, hosted by Opkalla. We're an IT advisory firm that makes technology easy for your business. Our vendor-neutral technology advisors work directly with your team to assess technology needs and procure the best IT solutions for your organization. On this podcast, expect high-level expertise from our hosts, plus experience-driven perspective from the leading experts on topics like AI, cybersecurity, industry-focused IT solutions, strategy, and more. Now, let's get into today's discussion on what matters in IT.
This episode is brought to you by Zscaler, the world's leading cloud security platform. Let's talk about VPNs and firewalls. They've been the backbone for security for decades. But let's face it, they're outdated, complex, and can hold your business back. And that's where Zscaler comes in. Zscaler takes your organization off the network and into the cloud with their Zero Trust Exchange, making your security simpler, smarter, and more effective by creating a direct connection between your users and applications they need. Zscaler eliminates the unnecessary traffic jams and reduces cost and complexity. With Zscaler, your business isn't weighed down by old school infrastructure. You'll increase agility, improve security, and enable your teams to move faster than ever before, all while knowing your data is fully protected. So why stick with the old when the new is this good? Transform your security with Zscaler and experience true business agility. Visit Zscaler.com to learn more and take the first step toward a simpler and secure future. Welcome to the IT Matters podcast, hosted by Opkalla. We are an IT advisory firm that helps businesses navigate the vast and complex IT marketplace. At Opkalla, we work alongside IT teams to design, procure, and implement and support IT solutions without an agenda or technology bias. But on this podcast, you can expect a high level of expertise from our host, plus interviews with leading experts in topics like AI, cybersecurity, industry-specific IT solutions, and strategy. Now, let's get into today's discussion on what matters in IT. Aaron, who do we have the pleasure of guesting on the IT Matters podcast today?
Yeah, it's good to see you, Keith. We've got Grant Walsh, who is the leader of infrastructure and security at Flow Control Group based here in Charlotte today. Grant, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. I am pumped to be here.
Love the Opkalla orange that you've got on today. Oh, there we go. We go way back with Grant, so he's a fan, and we're a fan of him. So thanks for joining the show. We're excited to interview and learn from you today. But I think Keith's got something for us to start off with today. So Keith, I'll pass it to you.
Yes, I have a little trivia game for the two of you today, if you're willing, Grant.
Absolutely.
If you're willing to put your mind to the metal.
We're willing.
Two truths and a lie. And it is based on the recent CES Robots Edition Consumer Electronics 2025 event they had earlier this year. So I've come up with, there's 3 robots I'm going to introduce, and 2 of them are actually at the event, and one of them is completely made up. Okay? All right. Are we ready?
Let's go.
We're ready.
All right, team. Let's play a quick round of 2 truths and a lie. CES Robots Edition. Here we go. Option A. Meet Mirumi, a sloth-inspired emotional support robot that attaches to your bag and reacts bashfully when touched, averts its gaze, and even sighs when overwhelmed by attention. Option B. Say hello to Toast E, a bread-scented AI robot that delivers motivational quotes every morning while toasting actual slices of bread. And option C, then there is Aero Cat Tower, an air purifier that doubles as a luxury cat tree. It cleans the air and tracks your cat's weight and syncs your phone to deliver daily feline wellness reports. So we have Marumi, the emotional sloth. We have Toast E, the motivational toaster, and Arrow Cat Tower, the air purifier, feline health and wellness expert.
They're all legit. They all actually, you could see any one of those being an actual robot. So.
Yeah, Grant, I don't know. I'm thinking B. The smell of bread just seems like a random smell that some AI bot made up.
I think people love cats. We got a lot of viewers love cats, so I could see C for sure being one. And tracking your cat's weight's important, I guess. And the emotional support sloth.
We all need emotional support, yeah.
I mean, and that's airline friendly, so I feel like you could take it when you travel, so that would be benefit there. The toasting one, I just seems, as much as I say no, I still say like, well, it does multiple functions. It gets you toast and it smells like bread and it gets you motivational quote. But yeah, I'd lean B as the lie.
I think B's the lie.
And the answer is B.
Let's
is
go.
the lie. Congratulations.
Let's go.
You have both won the beta version of Marumi, the emotional support sloth.
Let's go.
So expect that in your mail. There actually is a toaster that instead of toasting bread, you slot your phone in there and it charges your phone. So it's a little bit of a variation of that.
I did see that. It charges it in like under a minute or something crazy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for indulging us with that wonderful CES trivia today. Grant, we're excited to have you on the show today. I guess for the audience out there who don't know you and your background, how about start with your introduction of just how you got into IT and your journey to where you're at today as a leader in IT, and then we'll kind of dig in from there.
Yeah, and if we go way back into the 1900s, I mean, golly. My IT, don't say IT career, but me for IT have always been, I guess remember 1986, getting the Commodore 64 and typing out commands in a book and running games that way and putting ball cards into a small little database back then. But I've always been kind of a tech guy when it comes to IT. Worked at Radio Shack for back in the day. For a lot of folks who don't remember Radio Shack, but that was the place to be for technology. But overall, for the actual IT career, started back in 2003 in the infrastructure operations side of things. The majority of my career really has been in leadership, so I've had an opportunity to grow from a lead service engineer or IT analyst, depending on how you call the roles, up through site managers, regional managers, senior managers in some large organizations. Had the opportunity to work for some smaller companies where you get to do everything from e-commerce, social media, ERP, service desk, the whole nine yards. So good exposure there. But now, in a director capacity or head of infrastructure and security for the company I'm at now. But it's been about, like I said, 22, 23 some odd years in IT with, like I said, the vast majority in a leadership capacity. And that's really been the most fun, working with people, watching people grow, driving cultural change. That's my bread and butter. Like some people geek out on technology, and I used to, but now it's like just helping people grow, driving solutions to the business, and just driving that change where everyone, you have to work. I don't think anybody that I've worked with ever comes in and says, I don't have to work. I'm just here for a good time. But trying to make it a good time is really what's been the joy of my career so far.
And I guess on that, because if you think about, you just said you used to geek out, maybe not as much now, but like if you compare the IT function in a business to accounting, marketing, et cetera, it's all changing because of technology, right? So technology is what's driving it. And in technology, it's growing, it's changing faster than ever. So like, what's, in your opinion, like, is it harder? What's the difference between leading like an IT team and keeping good culture versus like maybe an accounting team or a finance team, et cetera, in the organizations you've worked at?
I think today is different because the technology is changing so fast that we're kind of at a tipping point in terms of there's a lot of good IT engineers, service desk people that know technology for a while. But we're pivoting to, and I think cloud's been around. Obviously, cloud's been around for a number of years, but we're kind of tipping into do we have enough expertise on the cloud side? Do we have enough expertise on the AI side that you're trying to encourage and help people grow into those new areas so they don't get passed by? Because if you've just been server 2016 Windows on an IPv4 type environment and that's all you've ever done, cool. But those opportunities are lessening and lessening because technology is changing so fast. So trying to drive a culture where you want people to grow, and then trying to, as a leader, kind of pour into that growth and want people to grow. And then the folks that don't, and your company's evolving and changing and becoming, they're adapting to this new technology, having those real honest conversations with folks that don't want to change, that maybe this isn't the place for you. So it's tough on the IT side, just because that there is so much change happening so fast that you have to keep your people up so they don't get passed by.
Those are great points, Grant. I mean, you guys are moving very quickly, and I'm curious. How would you describe the team culture and the IT department at Flow Control? How would you like if you were if you're interviewing a prospect to join your team? What would you say about the culture that you instill?
So the culture we try to drive from a leadership standpoint is really a servant leadership culture where we pour into our team. We try to help our team grow. But one thing that I've done, and I've had the opportunity to build the whole team here at Flow Control. When I got here, was me, one service desk person, and 2 engineers. And now we're much larger than that. We've built out the entire team. But I value the input of all our engineers, all our service desk folks, all of our managers, so much so that when we do interviews, it's not me doing interviews. I want it to be a cultural fit so that the team is comfortable working with this new individual. Like, are they going to come in and chip in where necessary? Are they going to come in and wear a lot of hats? Like, if I'm coming in, I'm just a backup guy. That's not really what we're looking for. You have to be able to be flexible to do servers today. It could be a networking issue tomorrow. It could be working with a partner on the firewall. Whatever the case may be, is be flexible and be concerned about your team. Now, my goal from a leadership standpoint is to ensure that culture is not burning you out. So we do I think a good job in terms of trying to set that line of work-life balance. So it's the expectations. You're not coming in working 7 days a week. And I know some IT groups do. They work all the time. They work nights. They work weekends. I've been there. I've done that. That's tough. And sometimes you have to go through that while you're building that change because you're trying to get everything where it is. But I think where we're at with Flow Control Group, sure, you're going to do patching. You're going to do some migrations at night. You're going to do some things here and there. But the norm is not to have that work-life balance so skewed that people get burned out and don't want to come in the next day. So I want to make sure our team has that. And that's the kind of culture we sell when they come in. They're going to come in. We're going to have a good time. We're going to, I don't want to say we're family because that's kind of cliche, because we're not family. We are work buddies. We're going to do our jobs. We're going to go home, go separate ways. We can leave and come back the next day refreshed and recharged. I don't want to be your work buddy. I don't want to, I love you guys when you're here at work, but when we leave, go home to your family, go home to whatever makes you happy. So tomorrow you're recharged and you're ready to work. And then again, when something blows up, and it does, you're in IT, something will happen, it will blow up, that, all right, everyone stops. How can I help? What can I do? How can we rally around this problem, get it taken care of, and get back to what we were working on before? So that's the culture we built at Flow Control Group, and we have a really, really good team. And I think not by any force, and Aaron's been there and met our team, not by any force, not by anything that's directed or demanded, we've ended up with a very diverse team of individuals from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different gender, just everything. By no force, we just find the right people, and they are so good. And like having those different perspectives when they look at issues or concerns or things. Hey, here's what I think, or here's what I've seen in the past, has helped us really push things forward and drive that kind of that change we're looking for, just through natural, experiences they've had. So again, we haven't gone out and tried to look for this stuff. We just hire the right people. We have our team, again, interview everybody. We bring teams of people in and say, hey, so we're interviewing for this role. Who wants to jump in and help out interview? And the questions are great because you get questions from all over the place and you see how people react. And then we go back and take their input. And I don't make the final call. Like if the team says this person is ranked the highest, then we'll go with that person. And then, I'll interview them. If I think they're a great fit, I may ask questions or not. But so far, I haven't said, the team picked somebody, and I said no. It's always been everything's worked out. So it's a really good culture here of really team input and transparency, and just be honest with each other. That's been a big thing for us too, to really build that trust amongst the team, is nobody's BSing anybody. It's all, hey, whatever I tell you is the truth. I'm not going to give you blow smoke up your butt. This is what's happening. So
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And you mentioned something that sticks out to me is that no, these are our colleagues. They're not our family. They're fundamentally different. And I think for a while, and even today, I mean, you'll go on LinkedIn and you'll see companies advertising. We have open slots in our family. Why don't you come join us? But they're different types of relationships that both can be positive. I'm curious. You've been leading IT teams for a long time now. I'm always curious as to what do you think's some of the wisdom, kind of the older wisdom that may have been lost in your years of managing IT teams, and then also what are some of the new wisdom that you think older IT managers might be able to take advantage of?
that's going to be tough. Okay. So older wisdom that's been lost. I think there's, as I touched on before, that not in IT or not. I mean, honestly, if you're in IT, you've picked the wrong career for 8 to 5. That's just, and I think that's lack of transparency and honesty sometimes can bite us. And just like, listen, this role, yeah, majority of the time you're going to come in at 8, you're going to go home at 5, you're going to take your lunch, do your thing. But if you're an engineer, if you're security, forget that 9 to 5 stuff. And stuff, the attackers don't normally hit 9 to 5. So that's some of that old wisdom, just being honest with people that this is not that kind of job. And if you came out of college thinking that the late nights you did studying, the late nights you did writing reports, that still happens here. I mean, you don't write reports, you don't study, you don't have a teacher, you don't have a test, but every day is a test, and you're going to have some late nights and things you have to stick around for. I think new knowledge, new wisdom is really that. I think early in my career, it's, there was the lack of how do I grow? It was always tough before I became a leader. Like, how do I grow into my next opportunity? How do I get to that next spot? I think companies had some generic, these trains are out there, but nothing specific to the career path I wanted to have. So I think in the newer wisdom for folks coming out of college, how do I keep growing? How do I get to that next role? And they want it fast. They want to be there. I started here and a year later, I want something else. Okay, well, let's make sure we put the training in place to get you there. But let's also make sure we're doing the role we have today that you're assigned to, do that to its best before we talking about that role. Let's make sure you excel here before I go talk about the next role. Do that. I think this is kind of going back to old wisdom. You're doing your job and you're training for the next role. Your training typically happens after hours. And that's been a tough thing to sell. You take your training and you may, sure, you can go to, I think Opkalla does a great job with some lunch and learns. We've done a lot of stuff there, send people to different Azure trainings and things like that. That's been great. But if you're really serious about moving into that next cloud role, security role, AI role, whatever it is, it's going to take some of your time. We're going to invest as an organization in you. We may pay for it. We'll pay for search, things like that. But your time is your time. I can't give you the time that you need to do your job, then go off to the training, because we still need you to do your role, but we're willing to invest to help you, support you, talk about it, create that path, but you got to give your time. And that's a hard thing sometimes for folks to understand. Like, well, I need Tuesdays off every week for the next 12 weeks to do this training. Well, that just takes me out, a number of hours I don't have a good support. And that's not saying we don't support you, because we are financially and we are, enthusiastically pushing you along, but you need to invest your time. It's a partnership here in terms of getting you there. And I think that's some old wisdom that's hard to sell to some folks because, well, I'm doing this for you. I'm like, you're not really doing it for me. You may get this role here, but if we think about long term for you as the employee, and if I care about you, that next role may not be here. And that's okay. If you grow out of what we can offer you and your next role somewhere else, I will give you a recommendation because I don't have that opportunity for you here. So we're investing in you. Sure, it would help us short term, but long term, it's going to help you in your career.
And I think you could take that, what you just said, I think that was a very great nugget of advice. You could apply that to almost any industry too, because I know at Opkalla, I always tell people when they're interviewing or when they're joining, the first 18 months, if you put in the maximum amount of effort, which does mean after hours sometimes. And so I can't sit here and say you will be the most successful if you only work 40 hours. It's up to you. I can't make you do anything at night. But if you want to get the most ahead, you want to have a fast start, it's going to take some self-learning, some work after hours, some organizing after hours, whether that's a cert, whether that's a course you want to take, whether it's just understanding what you're doing. And I think anyone would say that like the longer you've been in it, yeah, you can kind of hack the system because you've been doing this forever and you can use experience you have. But if you're new and you're trying to learn it, that's how you have to get it. You just have to put in the work. And so, Grant, I have a follow-up question to that. It's kind of two parts. So first part is answering from like if to our audience members who do interview. And the second part of the question is to people that are interviewing. So you mentioned how you do interviews today where your team interviews and then you'll do an interview. But you also, we talked about how tech is changing very fast. There's new tech, there's new concepts, there's new industries, right? And so culture is important. How do you interview someone who has skills in an IT segment that's maybe newer that you're not as familiar with? And you're trying to validate how well they could be in that role, balancing like their knowledge with the culture. Like, how do you weigh that? Like, what are you trying to ask? Like, what are you trying to uncover in that interview from your perspective to make sure that one, they can do the role, and two, they keep the culture that you have and are a good culture fit?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think it's one of the things where you can teach tech skills, but I can't teach cultural fit, right? So I'm always going to lean to cultural fit over tech skills. So if you can do it to the most part, for what we know versus what we don't know, we can figure out the rest. I think there's also, without saying I'm not going to go in there blind, we've been able to leverage partnerships with whether it be an Opkalla or some other partners we use that are industry experts in these areas that we may, like today, as we grow, we lean heavily on partners for certain areas of expertise. If I want to shift that internal, or not even get rid of that partner, but bring somebody in to help us internally have some expertise and have more insightful conversations with these partners, because I lack that internally, I can engage them, or have engaged them in the past to help us do some of the interviews. We're going to interview with myself and this other person who doesn't work here, but is an expert in that field that we need to hire you for. So if that person is, they are, hey, there's, our partner tells us they're 75% of where they should be. But I think our team interviews them and they're like 100% cultural fit. We'll go. I mean, because if I can find somebody that fits us culturally, that's more important right now than, finding that tech expertise, the perfect tech expert. Because a lot of times they're so focused on this one area that they can't do anything else. And even if I bring you in for AI or bring you in for cloud security, you're probably going to do other stuff. I mean, now imagine with, being in Charlotte, we have a lot of, Fortune 500 companies that have very siloed folks who do very specific things. I have a number of friends that do that, and that's great for them. But in our orgs I've been in, you're going to have to do a lot of different things. And that cultural fit is more important for us, that you have the flexibility and willingness to help out whenever that issue comes up.
And so flip side, you just kind of hit on it, but to that person that's on your team or is interviewing, or they've been the server 16 person for a while, or they've been the backup person for a while, how do you, besides just making sure that they fit and they do what they're supposed to do, how do you convince them / help them understand like evolving in their current role and in their education is important, and make sure that they're taking on new roles and making sure they're taking on new certifications, et cetera, so that they don't get left behind because the tech passes them by? How do you coach that? Maybe there's an example of someone that you talked to for about a year, and then all of a sudden it kind of hit them and they started realizing they needed to do it. Share an example.
Yeah, I think that happens. So we do, when I first started here, I didn't have the management team I have, as far as, kind of a tiered option between infrastructure, operations, security. So a lot of the folks are reporting directly to me. And as we grew the team, we built out a management team. But even in the one-on-ones I had with all the engineers or the operations folks, those meetings really focused on not only, okay, what are the big issues you're dealing with week to week, but what are you doing week to week to help improve yourself, make yourself better? Where do you want to be? So that's important to make sure on those weekly one-on-ones, or even now with my managers, making sure you're ready for that next opportunity, whatever it presents, because you really don't know when it's going to show up. I mean, sure, I can plan to grow this role, but a lot of times there are unexpected changes that may pop up a new opportunity. I think, we've had some folks along the way, and even here at Flow Control Group, that we've coached for a while. Hey, you've got to get ready for this. We are seeing a shift to more of the cloud. I talked about cloud a couple of times today, but we're seeing more of that shift off the on-prem to the cloud, and we have a partner now, and we understand it to an extent. But Azure AWS is different than your legacy on-prem days. So we have a number of engineers. Somebody's got to step up and want to take Azure. I can't force you to. I can't push you into it, because you're not going to do it. You're not going to want to do it. I need somebody that wants to excel. And we had an individual that is managing some legacy technology that, hey, we're going to outsource this technology to a partner that does it on the regular, whether it be a phone system or firewalls or the case may be, that's going away. So when that goes away, what are you going to do? Because that's been your primary role for a long period of time. What are you going to do? Because at that point, what are you adding to the team if that's all you're working on? So, and finally it was the aha moment. Oh, that's true. And think about that. So now they're pivoting to taking the training, putting a process together that, hey, in 6 months we should be here, 12 months we should be here, making sure that the manager and that person is working together, that the progress is moving on. Hey, we are, again, full support, paying for certs, paying for training, making sure that you're involved with the projects that are with that partner today so that you can get some exposure, so you can see how things are done. You can ask questions. So again, just really investing in that person to help them grow, and then just keeping that pulse. Make it a point every week on your one-on-ones or your bi-weekly one-on-ones. Where are you at? How are you moving? Because, if you don't do it on a regular basis, then it slips. And next thing you know, it's been a month, 2 months gone. And that's for this individual. Hey, man, I've been here 2 years. We talked about this a year and a half ago, and we're finally getting the point. Imagine where you would be if you started a year and a half ago when we first told you that this is somewhere you should go. So it's just, again, it's we've had that happen. Sometimes it takes people, it's a thing too, where everybody's got busy lives outside of work and they have to want to invest that time as an employee. And then sometimes you got to paint the picture for them. This solution that you're doing today is going away. Or all this work that you do is going away. What are you going to do? And then sometimes it's like, oh crap, yeah, I need to get that. I need to get moving on that so I don't get kind of left behind.
That's such a unique aspect of being in technology, especially today, especially over the last 10 years, because you're right, like the job that you've trained for and the job that you're doing, I mean, that technology could be supplemented by a partner in 6 months or a year. And now you no longer have to manage it. And then you have to find either a new technology to manage, or you have to move into leadership, or you have to find another usefulness of your time, which is certainly unique to IT and unique to technology, just by the nature of how the market is moving and how there are more and more companies that are able to offer automations and they're able to offer services that can do the job better than one individual at a particular company. How do you, Grant, how many people have you interviewed in your life? How many candidates do you think?
A lot. I can't even tell you.
If you're going to put a number on it.
Hundreds, at least 100, across the career, hundreds, maybe, 500? I don't know. Yeah, at least across all the companies I've been at, yeah.
500, okay.
I will say the majority of my career is building teams. Like it's coming in with either A, you're assessing and rebuilding, or you have nothing and hey, you get to build from scratch. And that's why I came to flow control. So you come there, you think about that, all those different opportunities. I've had to build teams, and every role you're interviewing 10 people or whatever it is. It's a lot of people.
In the interview process, how do you convey this message? Because it's almost as if, hey, we're interviewing you for this job, but how do you convey the message that there may be a chance that you might not be doing this in a year's time? And we also need to be thinking about, culturally, we need dynamic employees that want to grow and develop and want to chase the challenge, chase the next technology, chase those cloud opportunities. What are some of the ways that you're able to kind of filter the candidate pool, convey this in an interview? I'm curious about how that conversation goes.
Yeah, we always listen for, in most candidates I ask, even when I'm in there, sure, when I took this role, what's my path to the VP role? What's my path to the CISO role? What's my path here to where I want to be? Like I'm asking the VP of HR, I'm asking whoever my manager would be at the time, who were, the CFO that I interviewed with, what's the path there? So we're listening for those kind of questions too from our candidates. Like when we say, and one of the biggest things, in an interviewing process, if I could coach people on is like when it's time to ask questions. Don't say, I have nothing. You have nothing? You have nothing to ask us. Because one of the questions should be, hey, I know I'm being hired for this role, and I want to learn this role, and I want to do it great. But the next role, what do you guys do for that? Like, that's not a question that I know you're not interested in growing. And maybe you're just nervous, but then you're not prepared. So, it goes both ways. So we're looking for those types of that feedback. Because in our interviews, it's not a stuffy area. You're not sitting across at a table all by yourself with like 5 people there just firing questions off. It is a conversational thing. We try to joke. You'll see the culture in our team when the interview happens. So we're looking for that. I mean, for me, I come out and I say we want to grow people, and I say that in an effort to try to get that back and forth. And then really it comes down to the candidate. We're listing for certain key things to say, we're looking for them to, where they want to go. And I'll give an example too on the security side, because security is a very niche, a specialized area. And just like, if you went out and hired a Salesforce admin, or you hired cloud security, or just security in general, trying to find the right people who have the actual experience, not just book experience, but like hands-on. I've been in the trenches to fight, the attackers and people coming in. I've done this and I've seen this, not the ones that just go off and play with Flipper Zero, or, hey, I've watched this podcast. Cool. But what are you doing and how are you growing? Because security is evolving rapidly. The attackers are getting better and better. The use of AI is getting better and better. So what are you doing? So if we're not hearing that, if you're not already investing your own time in that, you haven't set up Kali at home and tried to hack this or hack that, or you haven't done some basic stuff, then it's like you're not interested in growing. You just want, you went to school, got your degree, now you want the money, but you're not really want to grow. You feel like it's done, and it's not done. If you got an IT, it's not done. Like there should be more of that in the interview. And we're trying to listen for those keys, and we're not going to come out and say, tell us exactly what you're doing at home. We're just listening. Like, hey, what are the things you kind of got into? What have you tried on your own? And, oh, this is my first interview out of college. Okay, cool. What have you done? And there's so many free opportunities to build your own virtual environments, set up things on your own, try to hack things, set up Active Directory on your own. You can do this on your own. That's what we're looking for, because that means you're willing to take your time, invest in yourself, and then we can come along there and we can kind of, boost that too by paying for certs, put you around the right people, get you in front of the right tools and solutions. I mean, all the solutions we have today on the security side offer training. Now you can become an expert on trainings, but if you're not doing that on your own, what am I to think that you're actually going to change that when you join our organization? You're just going to do your job here and then go home and then tomorrow come back in and start over again. That's going to be a slow progress forward. A year from now, you're going to be like, when do I get to move up? But you haven't done anything in the last year other than do your job, which is great. But you got to do your job and then figure out how you get to the next step on your own.
So you said you've throughout your career, you've been fortunate enough to be able to build teams. So interview a lot of candidates, bring them on, stand up teams. Let's take the IT leader that may be listening to this, or who is struggling to create a great culture. So either they realize that their culture is not as good as it could be, or they're newer to an organization where the culture may be lacking for whatever reason. What advice would you give to someone that doesn't get to just go hire a whole team of people on how to create a better culture in IT and create the motivation to go learn things on your own and the motivation to help out your teammates? How would you do it, or what advice would you give that person?
So I think when you're building a team or you have trying to that cultural change, is you don't want to be an office leader. So I'm staying in my office and I'm just kind of barking commands from the office. That will kill culture in a heartbeat. You have to be able to get out of your office, get in the trenches with the folks, be there side by side. When you're first building things out until you have the expertise that you want or you're looking for, and you have those leaders that you need, you've got to be out there to be one of them. And when you mess up, you got to say, oh, I messed up. We're all doing this together. Things happen fast. You react fast. Sometimes you make mistakes because you react fast, but being honest and transparent with people is a big boost. I think, along one of my roles that I was in South Florida, we went through with a team was called the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And that bottom base is trust, like having trust. They have to have trust in you that you're looking out for them, and vice versa, that, they've got your back. Making sure that as a leader, I think one of the biggest things a leader, is running that buffer, providing that cover for your team, because the business is looking for somebody when something goes wrong to blame and point at. Let it be the leader. Don't ever give a name. Hey, this person screwed up. No. You're the leader. You took the money. You took the title. You're going to take the beating. That's your job, to take the blame. And then you talk it over with the team. Hey guys, we messed up here. How can we make sure it doesn't happen? And while you're not saying, hey, I covered for you, if you say that, then you've blown it up too. But it's really, we've messed up. How can we do better? What can we do to make sure this doesn't happen in the future? Listen, provide that back and forth. The team picks up on that. Individuals pick up on the fact that as a leader, you're doing your job to run that cover and to run the kind of that shield, if you will, from the team. That's something I've always strived to do, is make sure I can run cover for the team, allow them to do what they need to do. These are experts in what they do. Go do what you need to do, and I'll run the cover for you. And just that'll build culture really fast, build that trust really fast. I think another thing for leadership is allow people to talk. Hey man, I'm having concerns with this or that. This tool we bought or this tool we're looking at, I don't agree. I don't think it's the right one. Sure. Why don't you think it's the right one? Or why don't you think this is not the right solution? Let's talk about that. Let's have that open door and do so in a respectful manner and have that back and forth. And at the end of the day, if it's something that, as a leader, you have to go with, be able to explain, hey, we chose to go this route because of A, B, and C. I know you had concerns, but this is why we went that route. Sometimes in those roles, they don't see all the details of the financials or whatever the case may be about a solution or whatever it may be, that you have to kind of explain that to them and be transparent about it. So I think transparency and trust are huge in building that culture, and just, again, getting out there. Don't be behind a door in an office and just barking commands is not a place to be. That'll kill culture really fast.
Trust, transparency, speed. Those are our 3 core values at Opkalla. I didn't tell that to Grant before this, but he just named 2 of them. I think from my perspective, again, I see different issues than you all do, but communication, like the communication to your team. And I always say, like, I have a huge hole in the middle of my chest from falling on swords for people, because sometimes we do mess up and sometimes we just have to own it and then internally figure out like what went wrong, how did it go wrong. But like, we are all humans. And I think deep down, everyone understands that. And so what people crave the most from, whether it's their team, their partners, their, spouses, whatever it is in life, you want someone that has your back and you can communicate with. And then when things go well, you can communicate. When things go wrong, you also can communicate. So I would second that. And I would say that 95% of the issues that I deal with as a leader is related to communication and not setting expectations and just not following through. And so, I think, like you said, you called it running cover. I would say falling on swords sometimes, like whatever it is. But Grant, as we close out, I got one last question, then Keith will close this out. But we're in 2025. You've been doing this 20 years. What trends in IT excite you, or what trends in IT leadership or leadership in general? Like, what do you see coming for leaders that will be leaders in the next 5 years or continue to be leaders in the next 5 years that you care about, you're concerned about? Like, any thoughts on that?
I think because, we keep talking about things evolving so fast. I think there's a lot of leaders in this that have been doing it for a while, but you're going to have leaders grow quickly that don't have the experience, and there's things that you can't learn in a book. And I think a lot of things in terms of dealing with people, leadership is so much about people, less about technology. You can learn all the technology stuff you want to. And I think, Keith mentioned earlier, like, people talking about, do they grow into a leadership role or do they go into another technology role? There's a fine line of the people that need to go into leadership that don't. There are a lot of good technology people that should never go into leadership, because managing people is vastly different than managing technology. Whether you can be a great technology leader, know the technology, know systems and processes that are great, but that experience of leading people, sure, you can go leadership courses, you can go to different trainings on how to lead people, read books, do a lot of quotes, all that fun stuff, but there's stuff you just can't learn until you've led teams. And I think that's something that, from a concerning standpoint, as we grow fast, you're going to have all these leaders pop up, so you have to churn through that. And there's a lot of learning, and I think we'll catch up over time here with that. But there's a lot of new folks who jump into IT because IT is so hot from a cybersecurity standpoint, cloud standpoint. There are a lot of folks coming in that want to move up fast, and naturally companies will see that progress and say, you've done really good in this role, let's throw you into leadership role. There's going to be a lot of burnout there. It just happens, naturally. It happened years ago, and it'll happen again here too with the change in cloud adoption and cybersecurity. But I mean, I think there's still a lot of exciting things when it comes to. I'm going to be live. I didn't say AI was cool, because you got to say AI at least 3 times in every chat. But even on the leadership side, I mean, I talked to Gemini, we talked to ChatGPT, we talked to Copilot. I mean, that the advancement in the way to fill in the skills gap. If you don't have it, but you can ask it and get an answer, and you have a way to validate that's truth, I mean, you can grow your technology skill set. Now, I wouldn't lean on it 100%, because if you ever get an interview, you'll be called out for it. We're going to know exactly if you know what you're talking about. But there's a lot of exciting things going on the AI side, but it's also a lot of concerns there too. So it's just a lot. I mean, I think there's a lot of growth opportunity. People who grab onto AI, grab onto cybersecurity and run with it will get promoted into roles that just don't have the experience yet with people. But I didn't have the experience with people when I first started either. You just got to learn it and figure it out. But it's a fun challenge to have.
Well, Grant, that was very insightful. We're going to wrap up here. But before we do, we always like to ask one question to everyone. I'm going to paint the scene here. Let's say, Grant, you are in Davos, Switzerland, and you are presenting in front of 1,000 of the most powerful CIOs in the world. And if you were going to convey one message that you think is missing at the top end of leadership and global CIOism, what would it be?
One message for the global CIOism.
Keith just made up a conference for CIOs in Davos as if they need another conference.
It just sounds cliche, but be a CIO of the people. Like, to understand your team, be part of that team. I think that's, we had a VP here for a while, and he just left for the CIO opportunity, but he was the VP of the people, the team. He talked to the team on the regular. He was here, part of the team. I try to get him to do that on the regular. It's always, when you're a service desk person or you're a new engineer, sometimes you feel weird about talking to a VIP or a CIO. It should be break those walls down. That's the biggest thing, because again, back to where we talked about, the team can't trust you because they can't see you, because you're often it's never land, because you're the chief information officer. Then it's hard to follow. It's hard to get behind that and follow, because you're that the distant figure. But that would be the one thing. Be a CIO or leader of the people that you're leading. Making sure you're transparent, honest with people where you can. Obviously, there's some discussions that can't be had, but just being transparent, and honest, and be part of the people, and play lots of golf.
Play lots of golf. I think you're going to get a standing ovation for that latter part there.
That's how you network.
That's right. We're going to wrap up here. Really appreciate you spending some time with us this morning, Grant. It's always great to have insights from dynamic IT leaders. We consider you a very impact-heavy IT leader, so we really appreciate your time this morning. We know you have a lot going on in your traditional role. And we appreciate everyone that is tuned in to the IT Matters podcast. For support assessing your technology needs, book a call with one of our technology advisors at Opkalla.com. If you found this episode helpful, please share the podcast with someone who would get value from it. And leave a review on Apple Podcast or rate us on Spotify. Thank you, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening, and we appreciate you tuning into the IT Matters podcast. For support assessing your technology needs, book a call with one of our technology advisors at opkalla.com. That's opkalla.com. If you found this episode helpful, please share the podcast with someone who would get value from it, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.